Hey there, how's it going? It's Big Show, theGod. What was I going to talk about today? I've got a few things. I had a couple of topics, but I thought I might merge them together and maybe touch on what my title is, emotional progress. So I thought about this this morning actually. The It was while I was watching a sports match. So I find sports real interesting on the emotional impact it has on humans and how it can how it triggers emotions within me, right? I've been trying to analyze that. I mean, I brought up on I kind of I like playing sports, so I like it. The game's made up of with rules and certain skill sets to implement and apply in the sport, depending on what sport you pick. You know, whether it's an individual sport, team sport, rah rah rah. So you have the participation part first, and I guess it's a physical piece to that piece, and the social economics of it is that you get a result because you're measuring it, and the result gives you a good feeling or a bad feeling, right? It has a feeling. You don't feel the same. You feel something. So it it conjures up emotions from the act of doing the activity or the sport. Sport is kind of where I've isolated it to, but I guess you can invoke emotions whenever you want. But I'm using the sport one just as a common ground. How's that? So we kind of understand those pieces from when you participate in the sport and you play it, that you have this emotional impact on yourself because of the good and bad. Good, win, good, lose, bad kind of thing, right? And I think society's been trying hard to minimize that, which I don't think you can get away from it. It's how the human mind's put together, I'd say. But hey, so anyway, staying on that, what I find fascinating is the other layers of when you don't participate in it, but yet you can still have the emotion from it, which you know it's really in society where I was watching the rugby last night, and you transcend emotionally into the game, and you have a side that you want to win, a side that you don't want to win and loser, and you adopt it. You adopt the winning and you adopt the losing, and it's it's a real struggle for me to not feel uh, a certain way based on the result, as hard as I try, right? So I honestly I really do not care who wins or who loses. I just don't, right? And I've worked really hard. I haven't worked hard on that. I've worked hard on knowing that I had nothing to do with them winning or them losing, or who's on the field, or who's playing, or who's picked, or who any of that is. I have no input or no um, effect, zero effect on everything that I'm watching, right? Yet I still want the result a certain way, right? I still want the team I want to win. And when the result is one way or the other, it affects me one way or the other. As hard as I'm not trying hard, but I'm trying to have reality. The reality of that whole situation, in my opinion, is it has absolutely nothing to do with my life. Yet here I am. Here I am. Uh, it's marginal. Don't get me wrong. It's a marginal feeling, but it's still a feeling that's conjured. So it's it's awesome how we're able to uh, have something that has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with us, affect us. That's where I try to look at. I guess the title of this is the emotional progress. How do you make emotional progress? The reason I say that is because my theory is that emotional progress, or that emotional symptom there that's happening, there's something that has nothing to do with me. No, it makes no difference. I'm kind of interested in it. I watched the game. They won, they lost. I feel annoyed that they lost. I feel cool that they won. I enjoyed the what the how they won. You know, they did something and scored, and they did that, and hit that, and it looked different, and they got that result, and we carried on. And that little lift and that little bit of emotion made a difference, but it didn't. But it affected you, correct? And so my opinion is that the more I realize that's going on, uh, the more progress I could make, because I sense that, but like the other side of the coin is going to have, if that gave me a little upbeat lift and I felt better, then the other side is when that team's losing, how do I continue to progress even through the emotion of loss? So you have the loss and you have the win. You'll argue it's a smaller impact, but for me, I sense it grows bigger and bigger depending on the attachment to that. And I think you can make that attachment as big or as small as you want. But like, you know, game team won or lost had not that much effect on me, but did affect me. My um, my dad dies. There's that. There's a lot of loss there, with a lot of ingrained emotion in there. So emotional progress will help me deal with that in probably a more progressive way, I would sense. So it's an opportunity to kind of practice practice emotional progress. And so what do I do? What do I do about it? Well, it seems logical to me that my makeup and my personality and my genetics are going to have those emotions anyway. You know, uh, that's just reality. Um, it's it's whether through those emotions I can have still have a level of clarity, right? I can still make what I would perceive as um, reasonable reality decisions. I think that's been my kind of approach. I really thought of it like that. I'm kind of thinking out loud here. What would make sense, and what do I do currently? You know, um, from experience, I know just dismissing it's not smart. Well, just dismissing it doesn't seem to do much. Taking it head on uh, is is quite beneficial. Um, so I can take something head on, and then practice going through the steps of that in a logical sense, which some people would debate me of being cold and emotionless. Um, maybe because you don't express the emotion the same way doesn't mean you're not having the emotion, and that may well be um, what others are seeing. It's like being sad and crying. Is crying higher than being sad, or is that showing how deeply upset you are because you physically are crying? And I don't know. I disagree. If you're angry and you physically act out and you rant and rave loudly, uncontrollably, means you must be really angry, versus me sitting here. I heard the same information as you. I'm processing it. Doesn't mean I'm angry. Hmm. I think I'm angry, and I think I'm sad. I think I'm happy, and I think I'm not happy. You know, how you physically express those emotions, I don't know. Don't know if it matters. It matters to others as as a symptom or as a sign, I guess. That helps you pick up the signs that you are upset or happy or sad, right? Yet neither of them demonstrate that you actually are. If you're on, I can sit here and rant and rave and act real angry, and I'm not. You can do the opposite to the other. So, so yeah, that's my approach, I think. So, as the title says, emotional progress. I um, I think I'm reasonable at it. I think I'm reasonable at it. I still need a lot. I practice it all the time because different events come up. A little bit like this sports analogy comes up in me. I'm thinking, how come? How come? So I'm kind of just sharing that And yet, I'll say this: the more I practice this type of stuff, um, the more open I am to what maybe the other person's going through. I notice that. Um, and I think overall, uh, my my opinion is that I have reasonable emotional balance through it. You know, I think the high emotion, and then the low emotion. You know, you want to argue depression, go into depression, then come out and be a freaking evangelist. I think the whole world's fucking beautiful, you know, and have that kind of exterior. I'm not sure. Whereas this kind of keeps me engaged and learning, and um, probably more effective. I just think it's more effective, and it benefits better more. I just think it benefits more. I have a reasonable amount of evidence to prove it. Um, Highs and lows and emotions. Um, it's reasonable to show that your your stress levels and your anxieties and your all those kinds of symptoms are more likely, right? Um, which I don't seem to have those symptoms. I definitely am annoyed certain days. I'm frustrated. I get upset. I'm not denying that. Um, but I think that's how I'm able to do it, I suppose. And from that, what I guess I'm trying to say here is that there are times when maybe the emotion, having some of the emotion would have benefited, right? So that's how I'm able to work it through, I think, is adding some emotion into a decision. I won't deny is a bad thing. Okay. Um, it's like putting visuals into decisions. It's like when you're planning and you have a project and you're really planning it and really getting involved with the decisions. And there's some when you're problem solving, there's quite a bit to it, you know, and there can be some risk and there can be some constraints, other humans' opinions, how it's going to affect them emotionally with the direction and plan that you're going through. And so you start to understand those concepts of it, right? And I have a habit of just dismissing how within a project, and if we're looking at logically, how this might affect this person emotionally, positive or negative. I guess if it looks like a positive path or positive project, then I debate. Well, he's going to feel good about that. He should feel good about this. He's going to make more money, or he's going to be more successful, or he's going to take steps in advancement, right? So, but there's work to be done. So he's got the result to use to get you there, and and maybe you got to train harder or you got to do more to get it. That bit's going to be sticky. You with me? Whereas you can have a project where it's a little bit more. Split of it is that the outcome is, maybe job losses or reducing costs means we're not going to use you anymore. And how's that going to affect you emotionally? Generally, I don't care, right? But maybe there's an argument that I do care. I kind of care, but this is the project we're doing, right? It's yeah, it helps. It helps on both scales or all scales. How much I dwell on it, that's debatable, but it's still there's still some room there. You know what I mean? Still some room for emotional progress. That's what I think anyway. Not sure I'm going to be able to do a lot of it though. Not sure. It has to. I guess it has to line up a bit more. So yeah, so that's the emotional progress, and then I went. One of the other little subjects I had associated to that was how deep past experiences affects my decisions. Right? Because ultimately, past experiences are generally uh, emotion. They're generally emotion now. So I went through emotion, and then so what I'm trying to say here is that if I've made emotional progress from a timeline from back here to say here, and you've emotionally progressed, if these decisions here were made in unclarity moments, then I have to relook at those decisions I made from a emotional progression side. So sometimes they're like blind spots in that my natural stance on something gives me a feeling, right, straight away. But that is from a past experience. You with me? And that affects how I'm feeling now. But that's clouding my decision. So you have a bad experience on an airplane when you're 10 years old, and when you're 40, you refuse to fly on an airplane. That's kind of the comparison I'm making, right? If you made emotional progress, you can now fly on an airplane, right? And that's a real obvious one. What about all the other stuff that's influencing my emotional decisions today, right? So that's where I think I can find some blind spots. So I'm big on this. Is how do I find blind spots of myself when I'm freaking looking straight ahead? How am I gonna find the blind spot for me? And have other people try and tell me? I've got to listen to that. But uh, me being able to be presented with an event today and view it in a certain way and realize that I can have a bias of it from the past experience. If that past experience is not is applying a bias to my decision today. You know what I'm saying? Past experience of something, having a decision to make today. This, my mind and head has the emotion that was there, and I've got to work through the clarity and work through the emotion of that. What tends to happen is I'll bring in, oh, well, that happened from that. I remember that happening from that. Let's not do it. Let's err towards here, right? I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because that's experience, but experience of previous events based on emotional decisions, and just because the result was a certain way doesn't mean uh, that's the way we should progress today. You know what I'm saying? People say, well, that's just being wise, being wiser, right? Well, it doesn't just freaking happen. To be wiser would require some evidence of that, right? You know, a lot of people will continue on doing the same freaking thing every time. So experience doesn't make you wiser. You can actually do the exact same thing and get a better result. So did that make you wiser? No. Wiser if you, my opinion, if you have emotional progress. That's part of being wiser, I would have thought. I do agree with that. So I'm thinking out loud here, so that's how I got to that. And so then I get into this other one. So from all that past experiences here and all that sort of having an impact, and it might present some blind spots. Is how do I how do I make do something different from the past, from my past experiences, and then apply it differently today? If the result was okay or reasonable, you know what I'm saying? How do I invoke it now? Well, the emotional thing is loss again. It's back to losing and being fine with losing. And I guess the losing is the peace. And losing hurts. that's that's it. That's my opinion. It's what I say. If you fail, being knowing you will be fine if you fail. It will hurt. It will You will have loss. You will dent your ego. You won't feel very good, but you will be better off in the long run if you fail. You only fail if you didn't get up again. Sounds cliche to me, that, in some sense. but it's kind of one of the ones that kind of joins together in that sense of how you get to that. I will argue that, you know, just carrying on doing things and failing is not what I'm saying. It's not what anyone's saying. You know, but but on an emotional sense, on an emotional progress sense, the failing that the failing may be a result, and it may not matter. How's that? How's that? Persist. A sports team lost this afternoon didn't mean the whole infrastructure and the processes and players and skill levels and the things they have together doesn't mean they're a bunch of losers, right? You might play 50 games, you won 49. So there's lots of rationales within that. But you didn't win the championship. Well, only one team wins the championship out of this many, you know. So do you keep trying again tomorrow? As a player, you do, because that's what you like. That's what you do, and you work through the highs and lows. Emotional progress again. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. How to how to find blind spots within myself. I thought there was a way. Anyway, all right then. Suit.